Hi, welcome back to the Mom & Co podcast. My name is Bopa and I am your host. Today I have Sully back with me. Can you believe that I've been doing this by myself?
That's awesome. I'm very proud of you for doing what you want to do.
And what I said I was going to do?
Yeah.
I know.
That's super big.
It's super big. Small wins, big what? Rewards. I know what you're going to say. Don't say it. Don't even do it. Don't even say it. Okay, so see, my energy changes when when I do the podcast by myself. I'm a lot mellow, I'm calm. And then when Sully comes in the video with me, I get all like funny.
Why is that?
I don't know. Like all of a sudden I have all these inside jokes that are waiting to come out that I can't do when I'm
Because you
by
have
myself.
inside jokes with me, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
That's our relationship.
Yes. And so that's why you'll probably hear us kind of giggle and then also like make fun of each other or things like that. But anyway, so last week's episode 7, I talked about the loss of my dad and the legacy that I carried of his. Today, I'm going to talk with Sully about the losses that we experienced this year and how losing my dad, his mom, and my nephew Sam, how that actually shaped us into how we process these losses that we had this year that was back to back. Mm-hmm. So this year, in March 19th, Sully's dad passed away. And on April 14th, my brother-in-law passed away. So let's talk a little bit about dad since he passed away first. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened? Like, what did he pass away from and how long did you know before he passed away?
So my dad was diagnosed with cancer, lung cancer in, I want to say it was June of 2023, but we weren't aware of it. He did not tell us. Only my oldest brother knew, and we didn't find out until I think it was late January. I want to say it was January 25th is what I'm trying to remember, but it was at the end of January, I remember, is when we found out. The doctor basically told him that he had 6 to 8 weeks to live, and 4 to 6 weeks to live, and he grinded out 8 weeks. So he was definitely a fighter. He had lung cancer. But it's kind of expected. My father was a smoker for, I don't know, since he was 16 years old, so a very long time. So he lived a long life. And
tell them how old Dad was.
My dad was 87 years old. He was a beast, man.
So what does that mean then? Like when they say like if you smoke cigarettes that you're going to die sooner. Your dad lived to 87.
He's an anomaly.
That study, that's a crazy...
I just think that everybody's going to be different. I don't, at the end of the day, we don't know what really, the chances of you getting lung cancer is much higher, obviously, if you smoke, just for the fact that smoke is a carcinogenic and it causes issues with your lungs. But again, there's people who die who never smoke in their life. Yeah. So there's so many different things and variables. I can't tell you why my dad lived that long to be 87 years old and not have really any health issues, literally, up until like the last 2 years of his life. Yeah. I don't know, dude was just different.
He was very different. And I know that before we found out that he had cancer, or before he even got diagnosed, you and I, we both have older parents. And so we noticed that he was slowing down, like just the way he was, like just walking, just even talking.
Well, yeah, now that I look back at it, there was this one time, something was wrong with his eye. I remember asking him, it's like, why do you have a crooked eye right now? It was so weird.
And you said it like that?
I asked him, I was like, what's wrong with your eye? And he's like, I went to the doctor, blah, blah. But now that I think about it, probably there were some things that he was going through and he obviously didn't want to disclose.
And he's probably like, this is why I didn't tell you guys, because you're all yelling at me.
Yeah, and then obviously I started realizing some other things. He started getting, you could tell he was slowing down. Yeah. He started giving away some of his stuff. Yeah. Just kind of a lot of hindsight, you're like, okay, he knew he was dying. He opted not to have, what do you call it? Have surgery or anything like that, because at the end of the day, it's like he's old. He's like, dude, I lived a long time.
Yeah.
So I mean, he did. He took it like a champ. He knew up until the very moments that that he was dying, and I don't think he really wanted to die at the end. He fought
didn't.
it tooth and nail.
Yes.
But I think towards it, then he just kind of came to realization that, hey, it's time to go. I mean, he used to always say, like, if I can't wipe my ass or this and that, then he's like, it's time for me to go. Like, literally, he used to always say that. And he really got to that point where he's like, listen, you guys just had a...
Can we share this funny story that I just remember? And it actually correlates to my brother-in-law, and because of the story he told me. So during Dad's last few weeks of life, Sully and his brother Den would go stay there. And, Sully would send me messages about what's happening. And there's one time where he said, man, Dad,
What?
Dad made me go. He's like, he had you like, he was like, get this shit out of my ass or something like that.
He needed to go to the bathroom really bad. And I think he's constipated. And he's like, can't you just pull it out? I was like, what the fuck you want me to pull it out? And Den was like, I don't know. No way, dude. Like, we're not doing this. He's like, well, give me the gloves and I'll do it myself.
So did he?
No.
Oh.
I mean, it's a feeling. It's a concept.
Well, and now,
Yeah.
okay, so now going back, I'm going to toggle it a little bit back to, because you told me that, it stayed with me, but I didn't understand. When I listened to what you were telling me, I thought it was just this funny story about constipation, right?
No, it's signs of death.
Yes. Yeah. But at the time, because I didn't fully understand it, I was laughing my ass off over here while Sully's telling me the story until it happened to my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And when we get to that part, I'll share with you what I experienced and how I knew what to do or knew what to expect because of Sully's experience with his dad.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a sign of your body shutting down. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, as long as you start to realize some of these things more that you prepare and you understand death, then you start to understand what happens to the body, and you can prepare for it. And you start to understand, it all comes to you. I mean, I know the hospice nurse, was, I think, again, when you're looking at death in a way where it's like you don't want this person to obviously die, right? Their physical form, they're here, you love them. You also are going to miss them. You're dealing with all these feelings of how you feel, and you just have to also kind of take your feelings out of it and think about how they're feeling and what they're going through. And as you start to do that, then you're able to cope with the understanding of and deal with death itself, knowing that it is coming, it is knocking on the door, and there's nothing we can do about it. And now I get it. If my dad was very young and he wasn't fighting it, then I would probably be a little bit more upset about it. But I think the fact that he lived a very long life, he lived a fruitful life, there's nothing to be upset about. He chose to live that the way that he wanted to, and not to seek any type of treatment or things of that nature. We were all, even though we didn't find out until the end, we were respectful of his.
Yeah. What was your initial reaction to finding out that your dad had cancer and he only had those many weeks left?
It sucked. I mean, it took me probably a week to kind of reflect on it, because I remember, it kind of took me back to when I learned about my mom when she was going to pass. I remember crying. I mean, I was still young when my mom passed, but I remember just hearing the news and just being completely, upset and lost it and everything. With my dad, it was more so, it took me a minute to gather what was wrong and why, and at the same time, I came to understand, like, okay, he's old and he smokes and all these things, and it just kind of, but then it also made me reflect a little bit on my own actions in the months leading up. I'm generally he always his go-to. Every time he needed something done for the house or this and that or anything that was needed, he would give me a call. So then, I kind of started reflecting back on that. I was in a time where I was super busy in the moment, not only with real estate, servicing clients, but also a remodel at the same time. So there's a lot of things going on in my life. And I was like, there was just this one moment, where he called me, and I remember saying to him, I was like, I remember saying, "You ain't dying, are you?" You know, like
During the time frame
right during the time frame, I didn't know. I was like, "Are you bleeding or something?"
Now, do you ask that question to someone when?
Yeah, I still ask, "Are you bleeding? Are you dying?" I mean, it doesn't change because that's how he raised me, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he raised me to be that in that aspect that like if I'm not, so I think it kind of went in a way where I was able to reflect and like, could I have done a little bit better in that moment? But no, I mean, because me and my dad had a great relationship.
Yeah.
I don't regret not being able to help him in that very moment.
No.
So it's like,
Because it's all a learning thing too. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Growing up in an Asian family, sometimes what happens is the parents are needing the children to do things for them, and to them it's urgent because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
For us, we're like, you're not dying. You're gonna be okay. You can wait. And so it's like a learning moment for all of us to have boundaries for us, and then for them to be patient. So I think like there's a couple of times where dad's blowing up your phone while we're showing houses since we're real estate agents. And I remember one time going over there and it was a Facebook issue. We thought, okay, maybe he's logged out, doesn't understand how to get back in. The funny thing was this. He didn't see any more updates from his friends.
yeah.
I am his friend on Facebook and I post quite a bit and I wasn't posting. And so anyway, so we did a thing where Sully had me post something and then dad saw it. He said, "Oh, it's working again." Remember that?
Yeah, so I told him he just needed to find some new friends, obviously.
Young friends.
I was like, some young friends. I was like, you got all old people. They don't post anything. They're actually just looking on Facebook
Just
to
like
look
you.
just like
Like-
you.
Yes.
I was like, they're not content creating. He's like,
Well, he started content creating. He would
That's towards the end. He started taking pictures of his flowers and whatnot.
Yeah. So he loved his flowers in the front yard, and he always took photos and videos, and then would post them online. And it was really cool to watch and see it, because that's what we love doing, and to be able to see somebody else enjoy the same things, it's really cool.
Right.
So yeah, and you know what do you miss the most about your dad?
Honestly, I do kind of miss just the random calls. I mean, I think that's kind of the hardest part for me.
Is it Vanna? Like, doesn't he say that?
Yeah, he would just basically call me, and I mean, he would talk, and he would also ask me about how's work going, how's the kids, basically just.
Remember, he always told you don't. He told us to calm down on what we post.
Well, he always told me don't. I don't know. All Asians are like this.
I know,
probably.
they are.
I mean, most parents is like, hey, be modest. Don't always post your stuff out there, or don't make sure you save a little bit of money for the future.
Because it's like these kids are going on these trips,
right?
And doing all these things.
I get it. He's a dad, and he's trying to do his best to make sure, because they speak from experience, because it makes sense, right? Especially in times where economic times get a little bit more difficult. That you got to have some emergency funds and things like that. So I definitely get where he's coming from, and again, speaking from experience, that he lived through all kinds of things, that he's able to speak on that, and as a person, as a child that doesn't have as much experience, needs to also remember that he does have that experience and that he can't speak on it. So
yeah, I'm going to miss him sending like fruits, because he also grows vegetables, and he would send them over to us in his plastic bags that smells like smoke.
Yeah, it smells like smoke.
And it was so funny because after he passed away, I was like, everywhere I went, I could smell smoke. Like, it was crazy. And and I was like, why do I still smell smoke right now?
He used to always send, like, I'd go over and be like, hey, take these two cucumbers. I'm like, 2 cucumbers? Like, dude, I got a family of 6. I'll eat this cucumber by myself. But I get it, because when we were younger, 2 cucumbers was enough to feed the entire family. Not for our family. Like,
I mean, you can. You just need to teach your kids
that
how
one
moderation.
cucumber, I'm smashing that by myself. So
it goes to show you that we grew up in different times.
Yeah,
and so
for sure.
We
more modest in everything, right?
Yep.
Modest in how you consume, modest in how you spend. I mean, just everything was pretty modest in their times.
Yeah, for sure. And and with today's times, when we have to scale back on things, it's like, go back to the basics. I mean, and they they
Yeah.
live the basics. And
Yes.
I think that is honestly what I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, these old people are actually always been right.
No,
You know,
they're definitely right.
So yeah, so
it just takes us our lifetime to arrive to understanding as they have.
But then we're in the same boat. Now our kids don't understand. I was like, why are you changing? You know, they're like what happened to those trips that we used to take? What happened to those family photos we used to take?
Well, I mean,
You know?
again, that's all with growth and change as you mature as a person. I think as you become older, I mean, it shows.
Yeah, you're more wiser. I mean, even think about business in general, right?
Yeah.
When you think about like when you are reassessing the whole big picture, and there are areas where it needs to be like kind of more tuned, fine-tuned to be able to save or make, whatever more. I think that's just in life in general, where you're always having to reassess where you're at and meeting yourself there to be able to make those changes to get to where you want to go and where you want to be.
Yeah, makes sense.
So losing dad, what are some of the lessons that you feel he has left with you that's like a legacy to you that you want to pass on to your children?
My father's always been a person of pushing to be a hard worker and also to be smart, right? To always be a student, always to continue learning. And that's something that you can never know enough. That's one thing that I've learned and what I've been pushing, and that's how I live my life. I've never know enough. There's not a point in my life where I don't feel like I can't learn something new. So I think that legacy of always being a student of life and always learning and continuing to, apply that so that your kids can also have the information at an earlier stage in life that will allow them to, again, collect more information in life and then continue to pass that down as the generations to come. So I mean, just like I had a conversation with the kids the other day, it's like, hey, I'm not doing this. What I'm doing in my life right now, I know that I'm not going to be able to see the benefits of it. It's not for me. It's for future generation. I know it's for the benefit of my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. And that's kind of how I live my life. It's not just for me. It's not for this very moment only. It's for something that's going to be passed down for generations to come.
Yeah. I can say, like, I've only been in your family for like 20 something years, but I know what I've admired about Dad is his true self, his realness to himself.
Yeah.
Up until the very end. I mean, I think he passed away like on a Wednesday or a Thursday.
Yeah. It was a
On
Thursday,
that
I think.
Monday, he took his last cigarette. Like, he puffed it. Like, do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just remember thinking, like, wow,
Yeah, he kept it 100.
Yes, like true to himself in the fact that, I mean, there's moments where we're like, maybe Dad wants to come live with us. And, but Dad wanted to smoke in his house. Like, he didn't care if people talked about him or about how his home smelled. He lived his life to the fullest.
Yeah, he didn't give a shit. I mean, at the end of the
No.
day, I mean, I that's when I guess I should have known that he was going because that was the day he decided he's like, I'm done. Like he got up that morning. We got him on that Monday because that was like the last day that he ate and all that stuff. Like literally. So then, he taught me tell me how to make his rice, and he's like, you need to put this much water and it needs to be just about right here. If you don't, it's gonna be too hard or it's gonna be too soft. So
He's
I was
very
like, all right.
particular.
Yeah, he's super particular
Yes.
when it came to that, certain things. But then I sat him down, all this stuff, and he was watching tennis on TV. And then he said, you know what? I want a cigarette. I was like, literally, he hasn't had a cigarette for 3 or 4 days. He's
And
like,
there's a point where he was out. Like, we're like, we didn't know.
yeah. I mean, he was just like, all right, I let me try it. He said in our language, he's like, let me try it. You know? Let me try this last smoke. I was like, all right, yeah, go ahead. So I lit him up a cigarette. He smoked half of it, and that was that. And I think after that, that was the last night that I sat up with him. And then Tuesday, yeah. So
I went to go spend the night with
he
the night before.
then he he passed on a Wednesday night then.
Yes, because I went to go spend the night with you. It was
Yeah.
my first time ever spend the night in Sully's childhood home, and I remember when I woke up the next morning and I felt Dad's legs. I remember my dad when he passed away. He started getting cold, and so I told Sully, I said, I don't think he's gonna last. So I don't know what you guys want to do, but I think that day I think the whole family came, and I took the kids to Top Golf that day.
Yeah, the whole family came, and then we just decided at that point, we spoke to my dad and we told him, I was like, hey, you know what? Like, listen, death is right here. It's knocking on your door. There's no avoiding it. You can sit up all night, and me holding your hand and not laying down is not going to stop this.
Yes.
It's here.
It's here.
And, you know, this is the decision that you've made, and you've gotten here. We're here for you. And I love you. And, you know, and I was like, you know, at the very minimum, at least start, you know, the hospice gives you the comfort meds. So I was like, at the very minimum, you want to feel comfortable. And I think that was actually the hardest part for me, was administering any type of meds for him.
And he didn't want it
because he didn't want it at first, you know, and we respected him for that. But I was like, dude, this is gonna hurt. Like you're gonna be pain. You're dying, and you're gonna be in pain, and you don't want to have that pain.
So when you guys administered that for him, did his pain go away?
When you get minister with that, I mean, you're pretty much you're gone. You know, like you're loopy already. Like, and then I think towards the end of his last day, I already knew he didn't get up. He didn't get up that night before, after Den laid him down for bed, and he was fighting. You can tell you're still there on the mental aspect, but
when I was there with you, he kept going like
this.
He's
flinching up.
Yes.
I mean, again, that's a death. That's part of death, and you start to see, again, when you see death and you know it. These are some of the signs that you're seeing that he was dying, and his body was shutting down.
Yeah.
And
that takes me back. So like, I know when my dad passed away, he passed away on that Sunday, and that Saturday I was at work. I was really busy that I didn't look at my I looked at the text messages, but I didn't read them.
Yep.
I know that you had gone downstairs because my mom
this was the
called
day before he passed.
So I wonder if what you saw.
He was already passing, but because we've seen him for so many, we lived with him, so we saw him on a daily basis.
Yes.
So it didn't really. He was already kind of bedridden, and Mom just kind of took care of him in that aspect.
But didn't you say that you called and
well, yeah, I went downstairs and then Mom.
Why did you go downstairs?
Because Mom told me to go check on him. She's like, I think he's dead.
You know, you went down there.
I went downstairs and I looked at him and he looked like he was sleeping, and I yelled, you know, I basically said, "Bah," you know, and then finally he like startled up and he's like, I was like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." He's like, "Where?" And I was like, he's like, "Where's Bopa?" I was like, "She's at work." And then he's like, "Oh, okay." And I go, "Do you need something?" He's like, "No, I don't need anything." And literally he went back to sleep.
Okay.
And then the next morning when your mom came and got me and I went downstairs, it looked completely different.
Yeah.
Like I could tell he was passing.
Yep.
Because he started already having
foaming.
the death rattle. So I was like, oh, because that's what I remember my grandma. Because I was there with grandma until her last day as well.
Yeah.
So then I recognized it. That's when I was like, hey, that's when I came and got you. We went downstairs.
So it's interesting how we both recognize from our past experiences, like when the end is near, you know?
Yes.
Same thing with my brother-in-law, he lives across the way from us here. And he passed away he had a kidney failure, and then he went into cardiac arrest while doing a dialysis. And with him, he's been sick for a few years too, in and out of the hospital, some close calls. And so, you know, over time, just like with my dad, when you've been sick for so long and you're living, I mean, not in the condition that
your quality of life.
Yes, it's not there, but you're still here for whatever reason that we're meant to be here longer.
Right.
And so it always felt like it was never coming, although every day you know it is. We're always one day closer to death. And I remember like in January of this year, my sister called me and told me that her husband was not doing well. And so I am a sensitive soul that cries about everything. And so before I tell you guys a story about my brother-in-law, I'm going to take this story back to 2024 when I thought my mom was dying. And the reason I want to tell this story is because me telling this story will explain how I was able to stay calm during Dad's and during my brother-in-law's, because I am someone that would panic usually. But there was a moment where my mom wasn't feeling good, and I took her to the doctor and to get answers. And I've never seen my mom like this. She's now 86, but she went to the doctor, and when we were in there, she finally opened up and said that she dreamt of my dad coming to get her. She also had community members have dreams of my dad coming to get my mom. And in our superstitious Asian way, those usually represents like someone passing away. So I think it scared her, and because she didn't want me at the house. Like if I went to work, she would call me, and now I recognize that she was having anxiety, separation anxiety. And then she opened up and let me know that one of her biggest fear is to pass away and have no one near her. And all of us siblings, we all work, we all have children. So sometimes, like my mom's home by herself, and she's been like that since my dad passed away almost 9 years ago. But it was just last year where I think all of the loneliness started coming, and I think the fear of dying started coming. And so I remember staying in her room for like 3 days straight, and I'm just crying because all I can think about is like, how do I live without my mom? And also like, I don't know how to fix this fear she has. And I just remember her telling me birth stories of all the kids. And so then I started recording it, I started writing it. And I realized that my mom had all of these things to say that she didn't have anyone to tell to because she's by herself. So I spent the last year really just recording all of her thoughts, her feelings, her stories. And it's been really, really cool because it's allowed me to actually see myself in her and actually be able to process some of the things that I've gone through that I had not processed yet. And I told her that I want to write a book. And she was like, that's exactly what I wanted your dad to do for us, because she's like, our story is so, she's like, it's so hard that people wouldn't even believe that it happened. And it's so crazy how me connecting with my mom and slowing down to spend time with her, because I was so afraid of losing her. And I was also afraid that her stories, her feelings, her thoughts were all going to go into the grave with her, because when I was the president of the Angkor Wat Friendship Association, I ended up going to more funerals than I had ever wanted to. And I recognized that a lot of people passed away with their stories. And so it took me on a whole nother mission of being able to collect and preserve the stories. And so anyways, during this time, I just came to this, I don't know what feeling I just got, but this overwhelming feeling of understanding and believing in something bigger than myself. And in that very moment, I get to understand and listen to what my mom believes in. And I started like piecing things together. And then all of a sudden, I stopped being scared of death. I remember thinking, if you can feel dad come into your dreams to come get you, I truly believe that we'll all be reunited. And what is there to be scared of if we're going to be greeted by people we know? And in that very moment, when my mom and I start talking, when we said it out loud, she was like, yeah, you're right. And then all of a sudden her fear just started like easing away. I mean, there's still some times where it will come back, but she puts herself back into that faith and that belief. And so when my brother was in the hospital in January and I got that call to go over to visit him, I remember talking to myself and saying, don't cry. because he doesn't want to see somebody cry. So as I already talked to my sister on the phone. I've already cried in the car. So I felt like that got rid of like what I was going to do. So when I get in there, my brother-in-law starts quivering. His like, like his lips and his eyes, he's trying to close it. And, but I couldn't help but notice that he was going to cry. So then, something came over me and was like, go walk and sit next to him. We don't have that kind of relationship where we're just openly talking about things. And so I go over there, and the first thing I asked was, are you scared? And he said, he didn't answer yes or no. All he said was, I want to see my grandkids grow up. And in that very moment, these words came out of my mouth so clearly. And I said, if you make it, you have all of us, including your grandkids. You'll get to see them grow up. If for some reason it's your time and you're also going to be reunited with your mom, your dad, your brother, your son, which is my nephew that's 16 years old, that when he passed away. When I said those words to him, he had this relief of like, yeah, you're right. And he goes, do you think I can make it to my birthday? His birthday's a day before mine, which is February 5th. And I said, yeah, you can. And so on his birthday, we went over and we celebrated my birthday and his birthday together. And he survived another few weeks after that. And before he actually passed away, there was a day that he called me, and we live right across the way here. And he said, I don't know where your sister is at, but I need to go to the bathroom. And I was like, okay. So like I rush over there and I get in the garage code, walk in there. I didn't even look for my sister. I went into his room and I could smell, the poo. And so then I was able to get him on the wheelchair, take him to the bathroom. And as I waited, he couldn't go. He's like, I'm just constipated. And it clicked with me and what Sully has said about his dad. And then I was like, oh my God, his body is shutting down now. And I knew that. So then my sister, she was asleep. So she told me that she had taken time off work because her husband hasn't been able to go to the bathroom on his own at night, and she's always had like almost like a newborn baby where you had a system. And so she was really tired, and so she called in, and she didn't want to bother any of us, and so she did it on her own. But then she was extremely tired that she couldn't even attend to him, and so that's when he called up me. And anyways, I now recognize his body was shutting down. He was not able to have a bowel movement. And just a few days later, he was going to dialysis. My sister was driving him. And my brother-in-law has not wore glasses in a while. And that specific day, he wore his glasses to dialysis. And he said to my sister in the lines of like, wow, it's so beautiful. And because he could see finally for the first time in a long time. And that was the day she dropped him off at dialysis. She came home, and that's when we got the call that he went to a cardiac arrest and he passed. And the one thing I forgot to talk about was like there's another time that he was in the hospital in ICU right before he passed away, just a few days before he passed away. And his daughter, Pana, was texting me and said that my dad's crying, but I don't know why he's crying. And I go, just ask him. And so she asked, she's like, he won't say anything. He goes, don't ask me. And so I was like, okay, well, that's going to be fun. I'm going to go to this ICU room and then I don't know what's going to happen, but then as we were in there and we were getting his food ready, he again started crying. And so this time I said, why are you crying? Can you let me know? And then he said, he started saying how he felt sorry for all the Cambodian kids. And of course, I was like, okay, what are you thinking of? And what did you see? What did you dream about? Like, what is it? He's like, I saw a lot of things back in the war. And he started reminiscing about things that he's kept to himself. And he said, I miss my brother. And I said, oh, the one that got into a car accident, the one that I knew about. And he said, no, I have another brother that was like 7 or 8 when the Khmer Rouge took him and killed him and his dad. And that was a story I've never heard of. And so me and Pana were just like crying with him now because we've never heard this story. And it just reminded me of like when my mom was not feeling good, and I realized she had all these stories to tell, and how she hasn't been able to talk about it to other people. She talked a lot about her stories, but there's certain details that has never been spoken about. And I realized that with my brother-in-law, and he was sharing all this information. And in that moment, I thought to myself, like, I think humans in general have so much to say, but don't know how to
Communicate it?
yeah, to communicate it, just like what I just did. Because I think sometimes they don't know who is a safe space that they can openly talk about, because it's such a vulnerable thing to talk about something.
Well, I think that all comes, there's a lot of different things, of reason why people don't share, or, it has to do a lot with not just communication, it's also the fear of being judged, and like you said, safe space and whatnot. I mean, you just don't know at the end of the day why someone's not sharing with. I mean, there's a lot of things there's guilt, there's shame, there's all kinds of different things on why people are not able to communicate the way that would potentially help them.
Yeah.
Right?
And it was just, I mean, and that's why I say like death is also beautiful, because like in my case with my brother-in-law, I was able to hear some of the things that he's kept inside for so long. And then I talked to my sister, and she did tell me that at one time he told my sister, let's not talk about what we went through because it's too painful. And that's the same thing my dad said to my mom as well. So, men, I think, kind of hold their stories because it's when you don't know how to process the pain, you don't even know where to start. And so...
Well, because you're taught, that's a whole different subject.
Yes,
because
for sure.
you're taught,
Yes.
you're taught not to feel pain,
right?
As a man,
As a man, yes.
You're not supposed to feel.
That's a
that
whole
way.
nother subject.
Don't cry. Like
yes.
that's huge in the men culture.
I agree. So cry, share your story, because all those things are actually so good for you. When was the last time you cried? I never see you cry.
It's been a while. Probably the last time I cried was
Dad's funeral?
Probably Dad's funeral, yeah. So it's probably been, yeah.
Sure. How before then?
Before then, I cried out of nowhere. I was thinking about my mom. I don't know where.
Oh my God, I remember also too.
Yeah.
When we were doing dad's service, because so it was my first Thai Dum service that I actually got to see a lot of, and I had questions, lots of questions. And when we were doing the burial for your dad with the cremation, I said, "Did you guys do this for your mom?" And you're like, "I don't remember," because you were so young.
Yeah.
And it was so crazy because we ended up taking Sully's mom, Sully's dad, and grandma and grandpa. We had it excavated to take to another spot. And in that very moment, Sully was like, "Oh, that's my mom's," then you're like, because I think it was like the fabric. You didn't remember the fabric.
Yes, I didn't remember what I didn't remember actually putting her thing in an urn.
Yeah.
I just remember.
You're like, we just scattered
I was like, we just scattered her ashes into the dirt. I was like, how are they going to excavate her?
And we just talked about that just a few weeks before, and then I was like, it was really cool just to be able to see.
Yeah, that. I was lost. I mean,
yeah. Are you gonna ask me when I last cried?
Yeah, when did you last cry? Probably 10 seconds ago? Inside?
Yeah, so before this, so it's our baby boy, Campbell. It's his 13th birthday today. And as I was putting a pose and getting deep in my thoughts, putting the music, I put Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. And I'm just crying.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I heard you crying over there. So
so I cry all the time. So, yeah. So anyways, thank you so much for listening to our stories of our losses in 2025. If you are going through anything very similar, know that we are thinking of you and we are praying for you to have comfort and strength, that in death there's still beauty and there's so many love and lessons that are growing from the loss. So I hope that our story gives you a little bit of hope and insight to that there's so much to appreciate in life. And I hope that you guys get to spend this month with your loved ones during the month of Thanksgiving. But otherwise, we'll talk to you next week. And next week, I'm going to have Sully on again. So excited.
Yay!
It's our 15th. What, Sully?
Nothing.
Not 15th. It's our 20th Cambodian wedding anniversary. We have so many anniversaries and I love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
was I supposed to say something there?
Yeah.
I love it too.
Yes. Anyway, so next week I get to have Sully on board with me. I don't mind doing it by myself, but I do love doing it with Sully. I think that he should be a co-host.
No, I'm good with that. I don't mind being a guest every once in a while, but
Okay.
it's your gig.
That's true. Okay. All right. We'll see you later. Bye.